In the past few weeks, we've seen record-setting performances by Peterbot Pollo in the solo victory cash cups. Today, we're going to look at just how impressive those performances are. Before we go any further, we'll go ahead and say that anytime a player puts up 30 or more eliminations, it's an impressive feat. So in no way are we trying to diminish the accomplishments of any of these players. With that, let's go ahead and dive in. First, the structure of solo victory cash cups lends itself to high elimination games more than any other mode. There's absolutely zero incentive to go for eliminations, and the only thing that matters is getting the win. This results in very few fights and higher player counts throughout the game. It's a situation primed for top pros to be able to put up huge elimination totals, simply by virtue of there actually being enough players for them to do so. Next, when these games occur is also important. Of the 7 highest elimination games in solo victory cash cups, none came after a player had already won a game. This is significant since matchmaking is primarily weighted based on overall placement. By not having a win under their belts already, the lobbies they are competing in are even weaker than they otherwise would be, since the players that have already won a game are largely being matched against one another. Alright, so real quick here, we're just going to stop and give a shout out to Ken Beans, who came the closest to actually ending Peterbot's run. He ended up dealing 189 damage to Peterbot, but ultimately Peterbot came out on top, getting Ken Beans with 1 pump. Shout out to Ken Beans, an incredible content creator and creative map maker who almost put an end to this run, but ultimately, thank you for not getting the job done. Let's consider the 2 highest elimination games. Peterbot's 39 elimination game and Pollo's 38 elimination game. Only 19 of those 77 players had any career earnings, and of those 19, just 4 had career earnings over $1,000, the highest being Epic Dom with just over $6,000 in career earnings. Epic Dom was also the only player amongst those 77 players eliminated that had competed in FNCS Grand Finals, most recently placing 21st in NA West Major 1 Finals. Next, we wanted to find an analogous situation to better contextualize the skill disparity, and so we looked to the NBA. In 2019, there were 4,181 draft-eligible college basketball players. Of those, 52 ended up being drafted. An additional 49 college players were undrafted but went on to play in the NBA. If we add those together, that means that 101 of the 4,181 draft-eligible players made it to the NBA, or 2.42%. Now, for our purpose, we considered making an FNCS Grand Finals to be the Fortnite equivalent of making it to the NBA. In the solo victory cash cup that Peterbot put up 39 eliminations, 215 of the 8,258 players had competed in an FNCS Grand Finals. If we divide 215 by 8,258, we get 2.60%. Though not exact, the ratios are remarkably similar and within an acceptable tolerance. So, it seems reasonable to say that for top pros, competing in these solo victory cash cups is the equivalent of an NBA pro competing against a college basketball player. There are obviously different tiers of players in the NBA. There's a huge difference between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kendall Brown. Similarly, there's a huge difference in tiers of Fortnite pros. For the next exercise, we considered any player with an all-NBA team appearance as an elite NBA player. While the actual number will vary, each NBA team is allowed 15 players on their roster. With 30 teams at 15 players each, that gives us 450 NBA players. There are currently 45 active players with at least 1 all-NBA team appearance. So that means that 10% of the league has made at least 1 all-NBA team. As any basketball fan will be quick to note, this isn't a perfect representation, but for our purpose, it's a sufficient approximation of an elite player. Without an all-NBA equivalent in Fortnite, we have to use a different method. For this, we considered any players that had at least 1 top 10 placement and competed in all 4 FNCS finals. We found there were 24 NA players that fit that criteria. This chapter, there were 248 NA players that competed in an FNCS finals. 24 divided by 248 equals roughly 10%, the same rate of active NBA players with an all-NBA team appearance. Both Peterbot and Pollo are among those 24 players. So not only are the solo victory cash cups comparable to an NBA player competing against college athletes, but in the case of Peterbot and Pollo, an NBA superstar competing against college athletes. That feels like an appropriate statement, as both players have established themselves as amongst the truly elite professionals in Fortnite. The last thing we'll mention is that for as skilled as these players are, there's still some luck involved. Both Peterbot and Pollo had a handful of close calls in their record-setting runs. That said, the frequency with which both players are able to put up these massive elimination totals is a testament to their place among the elite fraggers in not just NA, but the entire world. So there you have it. While these performances are certainly impressive and worth celebrating, it's important to remember the context. Peterbot and Pollo aren't racking up massive elimination totals against fellow pros, but against players that are clearly several leagues below their own skill level. It would certainly be wild to see Jason Tatum beat a college player 85-5 in a one-on-one, but ultimately it wouldn't really tell us anything that we don't already know. That Jason Tatum is an incredible player, just as Peterbot and Pollo are incredible players. So as fun as it is to see these amazing runs by these phenomenal players, try to remember the context behind them. So until next time, we hope you enjoyed this video, good luck in your next event, and happy hunting.